be sniffing bombs and drugs. They sick the dog on you and have the dog bite you. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like the worst.
Yet, the only thing can stop that is us. We have incredible restraint when we deal with them, but we'll pull it when it comes to each other. We have to reevaluate that and change that. We have to recognize who our friends are, our loved ones are, and our enemy, and go accordingly. No, I'm not. No, 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 I'm not.
Hey, King. Hey, King. You just purposely you cut that man off.
Brother,
If you
brother,
can't hold
brother,
your
brother,
composure, I'm gonna
brother.
kick you out, bruh. You just purposely cut that man off. Come on,
Keep
bruh.
interrupting, bro. You guys stop interrupting, bro. Brother, you're doing it again after he asked you not to. Brother Big Dog was being very patient with you, and I am too, brother.
I'm trying to be patient.
Let us finish. Let us finish. Let us finish, brother.
Go ahead, brother. I got
You know, we have to do better with when we come among our people. We have to be correct mind, sound, and body. You know, it's all good, but we can't allow people to just run over us and do anything they want to us. And that's when our unity comes. Our numbers is our strength. The reason why they can do what they do to us because they see our vulnerability. They see our lack of unity. They see our lack of organization. They see our lack of having the same mindset. They see that. And that's why they approach us the way they approach us and feel they can do what they do to us. And we have to stop that. Again, we can't go to their brother asking them to do something about them. We have to do something about them. It's our condition. And the only reason why they want to keep us, in a certain tax bracket and certain status is to exercise power over us. Yet we don't realize the power we have collectively. Some of us feel like we know it all. I know for certain I don't, but I know for a fact that if we combine what we know it all, or at least we know enough to deal with what we got to deal with. Brother, can you do the
next video.
Next video, please?
Got you. Okay, yeah, here we go. The K9, here we go.
Downtown gets a little wild, but nothing like this. No, nothing like this at all.
Nathan Lux is the one who shot the video from his second floor apartment at 13th and Columbia. He says it all started when he noticed some police activity around 5 o'clock Sunday evening.
It just seemed like a little stakeout thing, and one of the residents here was taken into custody.
According to Lux, as officers put that person in the back of a police cruiser, a police canine bolted across the street and attacked somebody walking on the sidewalk.
As I was recording, all I was like hearing was just heel, 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 and so the dog was not listening to any of the commands whatsoever. And then just the follow-up, there was even like restraining the dog or pulling the dog off of the guy. It took a lot of effort, it looked like.
It happened so quickly. It just happened quickly.
Joe Gold witnessed the whole thing, and he's relieved to know the person attacked suffered only minor injuries.
I felt bad for the guy that got bitten, but I also felt bad for the officer that lost control of the dog. But then I thought to myself, well, they're going to probably have a lawsuit over this or something.
That's unclear. What is clear is that this attack will stick with witnesses for some time.
For some guy to kind of walk up behind and then just get attacked was pretty appalling.
All right, the Vancouver Police Department did release a statement. In part, it says the department will be conducting an internal investigation related to the incident, and the canine will be removed from deployment until the investigation is complete. We'll, of course, stay on top of the story and pass along any new updates on air and online. For now, Dan, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you so much.
Brother Key, Brother OG, Brother King, do you see this? The dog, just like the police officer when they fuck up, is placed on administrative leave.
Yes, sir.
The dog.
Like it's a
The
human
dog
being.
will.
But if that was my dog that just dwelling across the street, it would have gotten shot. They put a
Or
dog
it'd have been put to sleep.
leave.
It'd have been put to sleep.
Exactly. Euthanized. That's what they do when that dog was out of control, and obviously that dog was trained to do what it did. It's an animal, it has its own mind anyway. But with that training, that most case scenario, a Caucasian man is given that dog. Is trained that dog to not be, because the German Shepherd, I had German Shepherds all my life, and it never moved until I said so. That dog was trained to do exactly what it did. And it
That's crazy.
darted across the street and just attacked somebody. And just like cops do when they just attack somebody because they're angry, acting just as animalistic as that dog did, it gets placed on administrative leave. I must be losing my damn mind.
That's crazy. I had a dog that defended a family member, bit the person who was fighting them, and they put my dog to sleep for doing what it was supposed to do. This dog get administrative leave for doing what it ain't supposed to do. That's crazy.
Yes. Yes, it's crazy, brother. You can play that video, good brother.
Got you. Let me shout out 56 Aces, Garfield, and Bernice. Rain Rising. Welcome to the platform. Let's go.
Evening, he told deputies over and over again he could not breathe, but the jailers he struggled against taunted him right up until his death. An exclusive News Channel 5 investigation is raising questions about the way William Jeanette died.
Our investigative reporter Ben Hall obtained exclusive video, and we do need to warn you, parts are disturbing.
Where you?
3 Marshall County jailers called for police backup in May of last year after William Jeanette refused to get into a restraint chair.
Where are you?
When Lewisburg police officer Christopher Stallings runs into the room, Jeanette yells that corrections officers are trying to kill him. They quickly get Jeanette to the floor, where he will die minutes later.
It just breaks my heart because he was someone worth knowing, you know?
His daughter, Dominique Jeanette, says her 48-year-old father was terrified and desperately needed help.
And that's just something that really sticks with me, of how scared he must have been and how alone he must have felt.
Jail logs show Jeanette had been hallucinating and detoxing after being arrested 2 days earlier for resisting arrest, public intoxication, and indecent exposure. Officers had put him in a restraint chair the day before because he was hitting his head on the cell wall. But on May 6th, officers tried again. As you see on these jail cameras with no sound, things escalated quickly.
They should have been more aware. They should have been trained properly, and they weren't.
Dominique is suing Marshall County
Hey,
and the
shout out my
Lewisburg
brother
Police
D. Allen
Department
Warren
because of what happened
and
after
Samantha
her
White.
father was on the ground.
Ran around.
Stay down, you stupid son of
Flat motherfucker.
With other officers now around him, Jeanette is face down on the floor in handcuffs.
Get up! Get up!
Despite his screams, officers put pressure on his back and then call for leg restraints.
Go get your leg restraints. Before you do anything else, get leg restraints.
Seconds later, Jeanette says for the first time that he can't breathe. Listen to what a female officer says back to him. Officers stay on his back and even bend his legs to his back until finally one officer says, "Be careful of suffocating him."
Hey, easy, easy. Chambers, fixation, guys. Got it. That's why I'm not on his phones. Let him breathe.
Jeanette's last words are, "I'm good." But an officer with his knee on Jeanette's back talked back to him.
Oh, you ain't good. You gonna lay right there for a minute.
That's the exact opposite of what this generally accepted police training has taught officers to do for at least the last 25 years.
We showed the video to law professor and former police officer Seth Stoughton. He's co-written a book evaluating police uses of force.
When the handcuffs come on, they should have rotated the guy to the side.
He was disturbed by what he saw and said police departments have been trained since the mid-90s about the dangers of positional asphyxiation, suffocating someone by sitting on their back in what's called the prone position.
There's approximately a 3-minute and 43-second period after officers have applied handcuffs where they keep the individual in the prone position, and that's not acceptable.
Like, all that he wanted was help, and all that he got was hate. Like, it's not right.
Jeanette's daughters remember him as a father of 5 who drove a cement truck to support them. He'd been arrested before, but did not have a long rap sheet.
There were so many people that could have just said, this isn't right, and no one said that this wasn't right.
The autopsy lists the cause of death as acute combined drug intoxication with meth in his system, but it also listed asphyxia as a contributory cause of death and ruled it a homicide.
It just feels like my heart is constantly being ripped out of my chest. And there's no peace to that.
This family hopes other departments learned from what happened to their dad.
He's not there, like, to take me home anymore.
A grand jury looked at this case, but decided not to bring criminal charges against the officers. We asked the sheriff and the attorney for the county for a comment, but they declined. Ben Hall, News Channel 5, investigates.
Thank you, Ben. For full transparency and to give you the complete picture of what happened, we have posted the entire video on our website. Just go to the Investigate section of newschannel5.com.
Evening, he told them
That man being drunk should not have been a death sentence. And I've seen times when the police went to a suicide call. Somebody's threatening to kill themselves and the police end up killing them. What sense is it that a police officer come to the scene if he ends up killing the person? And what sense is it to stop somebody for not having a seatbelt on and ending up killing them because they didn't have a seatbelt on? You stopped them over a traffic violation. Like you really care if that person hit the brakes and go through that damn window. As a matter of fact, you might as well have let them go through the damn window if you shoot them center mass in their chest, because they didn't respect your perceived authority and you get cocky and you get upset because they're not obeying you, being in compliance with you, and you end up killing them over a traffic violation, instead of just when you first walk into the car telling them why you stopped them and giving them a ticket for not having a seatbelt on, but the main thing they want to do when they stop you is lock you the hell up. They want to lock you up. They can care less about your safety, because why? You're not safe around them. People should not cringe when a police car drive by them. They should say, I'm good. There go the police, I'm good. But no, in our communities, our people cringe when they see a police car, because we know emphatically they're not there to protect us or serve and protect us. Occupying forces. That's what they are in our communities. And we don't need them. We don't. Because why? Somebody try to come in my house, I got something for them. They're going to need EMS, not the police. We don't need the police. We don't need no type of slave code of laws or occupying forces driving around parading as law enforcement. Yet the only thing they enforce is their feelings. That's what they enforce, their feelings, not the law. We are, myself, Brother Keaton Norfolk, Big Dog Philly OJ, we are attempting to show our people why we should divorce this system. That's what we're attempting to do.
Oh yeah, good brother. I want to second you. Everything you said, if we could have a second, most of the people who have an issue with divorce in the system, like you said, they got a comfortable seat. But let the situation happen to,
yes,
where that seat get questioned, to where they good shoe on the other foot. Let them feel how so-called black they are.
Yeah.
And they'll be feeling the same way.
And what's sad is when our people get in those positions, they act like they act worse than the white man in that position, because they got to prove themselves to that position.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They behave like they have risen above the condition of their people. That's how they act when they get those jobs. They're not one of us. They're one of them.
With all these positions.
Yes, I mean,
you can tap in my brother King Genocide. Just saying, go win Abe. And me's pop.
It's like, when some of us get these positions, again, we feel like we are not one of our people. And then a lot of us will treat our people worse than, our obvious enemy would. Again, I say hiring one of us is not the answer if they have the same mindset. I would think one of us would get the job to prevent what happens. That's the only reason why I can see getting that job and taking that job, is to prevent what's been happening. But a lot of us get those jobs and they go fit right in. They partake in the same bullshit against their own people. They do the same exact thing. You know, Ice Cube said it, slamming you down to the street top, black police showing out for the white cop. They do that. And it's always some cornball Negro who want to show the white boys that he's hood, he got street in him, and he's a badass. That's most case scenario when you get one of us on that job. They don't get the job and say, you know what? I got to go in and make sure my people are taken care of and they're not being abused, because it's the only way we can stop it, by being in, unless we're going to divorce the system and start our own thing. When we do something on behalf of our people, if we're going to correct our people's behavior, we got to do it with compassion. We can't do it their way. Their way is barbaric. Sicking a dog on somebody, that cop should have been shot for doing that. Sicking a dog on somebody, or allowing your dog to run across the street and bite somebody who didn't have anything to do with your stop. A random citizen walking down the street gets bit by a police dog because it's out of control. Had a hard time pulling the dog off the man. Both of them are dogs. The police officer's a damn dog. Pig and dog, he both. The dog should have been shot. The cop should have been shot too. But they put the damn dog on administrative leave like they do the cops.
Yeah, and that's wild. You know, and that's the only way it gotta be when it comes to a cop. Because we got these, you know, it's just the job cops. And the job cops ain't gonna do good enough for us, because they still fall on the side of, on the side of policy.
Yes.
You know, the only way they're gonna serve to serve the law, to really protect and serve on the right side of that, as we take it, they're protecting and serve. They're protecting the policy. They're serving the policy. They're not protecting the people or serving the people. They're protecting the policy and serving the policy.
Yes, sir. But you know what's crazy, Brother Key, is when you'll have police officers who are one of us. They'll go around our communities doing all kinds of stuff with these other cops, victimizing our people. But he don't never mention, why aren't we in Bensonhurst doing this? Why we aren't in white neighborhoods doing this? He'll be participating in victimizing his own people, but they don't do that in white neighborhoods. They don't go there unless they're called. I was telling a brother today at work, all the crime that goes on in Newark, organized crime, you best to believe that the ones involved in that is not living in Newark. They're living in Nutley somewhere, Saddle Brook, Saddle River, in Bergen County, where all the rich people live at. But they're doing dirt in Essex County. But the police don't go up there to Nutley and arrest them for the dirt they do in another county. Those so-called mob bosses who got all the industrial stuff locked down, sanitation locked down, because they strong-arm people. Dirt's being done in Jersey City, but the people who's behind the dirt live in Hoboken. Things we need to understand. The system is not ours. It's not rigged. The system is not rigged. It's working how it was designed and against us. A man said he couldn't breathe, and an officer said, you shouldn't be able to breathe, you bastard. over misdemeanors. He should have been drying out and let go. But they ended up killing him. Can you show the next video, brother?
You still in, OG?
Yeah, I got you, everybody. Grand
Okay.
Rising, everybody. Shout out my brother Rainstorm. Shout out a couple people. Lady Spade, Casey Featherhat, Rainstorm, American Negro, OG Green Machine.
Peace to all the family in the chat.
Yes, Lady Spade, the brother King Genocide, my brother Keith Norfolk, myself, Love Child, Samantha White, Shay Pink 40, Hiker, Emperor's Goddess Namaste, Lady Spade, Grand Rising, everybody. We're gonna get to the next video.
Dogs around the Bay Area help keep officers and the
Fair
public
use,
safe.
fair use.
But as I-Team investigator Adam Walser uncovers tonight, even with the best training, things can quickly go wrong, resulting in serious injuries and big bills for you, the taxpayer.
Speed.
Dog's gonna bite you. Get up.
Determination.
Shout out to Boss.
A dazzling sense of
I see
smell.
you out there. Grand Rising.
All used to catch
Black power
dangerous
is black
suspects, find missing people, and detect drugs, bombs, and bodies. But an I-Team review also found innocent people injured and accusations of local law enforcement misusing dogs.
Yeah, that's right down the bone. So he had a bit of check off.
This grainy dash cam video shows Matthew Pullen stumbling around his front yard after a neighbor called police on him in October 2017.
I was intoxicated, I was drunk, and I really didn't pay no mind to the officers.
Pullen, an admitted convicted felon and recovering addict, talked back to a Northport police officer. A scuffle then broke out.
This is you. That's me on the ground.
According to reports, police used a taser on Pullen 3 times because he didn't follow verbal commands, then retrieved a dog to apprehend the defendant.
I wasn't running. This is my own house. Why would you even bring your dog out?
This video shows the canine drag Pullen by the arm and bite him multiple times over the course of 3 minutes, during which time Pullen never got up.
You just zoom in on this.
Oh, screws and wonderful pins.
But David Hare says he wasn't breaking any laws when a Hillsborough County canine attacked him in 2014. According to the report, Hare was a passenger in his friend's truck when a deputy pulled him over for an expired tag. A dog was brought in to sniff for drugs, but didn't find any.
I was just leaning on my cane, speaking with another officer. And the next thing I knew was when the dog had hit me. My arm was tore open. The muscle was tore through here. The shoulder itself, he had yanked so many times, pulling me around the parking lot.
The county settled Hare's lawsuit out of court earlier this year for $50,000.
What's this done to your life? It's torn to pieces.
We also discovered cases of police dogs even turning on their own.
A Polk County deputy was forced to shoot and kill another deputy's canine on Monday. The Polk County Sheriff's Office saying one of their canine handlers was caring for the dog named Recon, but when he went to check on Recon, the dog bit his hand and would not let go.
In 2017, a St. Petersburg police dog attacked a handler's wife, seriously injuring her. The city paid $100,000 to settle that case. The I-Team found police dog bites have cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars in settlement payments in the past 3 years alone. Tampa paid $85,000 to settle 2 claims. Hillsborough County paid out $237,500. Northport, where Pullen was bitten, leads the Bay Area in dog bite settlements, paying out $1.4 million for 5 claims since 2016. The city's police chief declined our interview request, saying in an email the city's insurance company settled those cases, and his department has never been found guilty of wrongdoing.
Attaboy.
St. Petersburg Police Chief Anthony Holloway did agree to talk with us about how his officers use canines.
That is a use of force tool, and we want to make sure when we deploy that tool that
Like
we're
I
using it
said,
the
there's
correct way.
always
He
one
says his
of our
officers
people
do not bring
that's
dogs
in the
on
lead
every
position.
call.
You don't
What?
use these animals for misdemeanor
Always
calls.
our people.
No, we do not. If it's a misdemeanor or an ordinance violation, the dog will not be deployed. It has to be a felony.
Holloway also says his department tracks all dog bite incidents.
If a canine handler has more than 10 bites in 6 months, then it automatically comes to the attention of myself and my command staff, and then we'll review it to make sure there's no issues either with the dog or the handler.
They're friendly dogs, but there's certain things that can turn them very unfriendly very fast.
Retired Officer Kurt
training.
Middleton helped start Tampa PD's K-9 program in the late 1980s.
You put yourself in a high liability area, and you're responsible for them.
Middleton worked with 3 canines during his career. He says his dogs never accidentally bit anyone on the job, but both his wife and son were bitten at home.
If something happens, he's going to react because of the training that he's been put through, and it may be aggressive towards a person.
David Hare knows that firsthand. But he did not know that the county paid.
What I said was it's always one of our people in a position of power.
Yes, sir.
That's what I said. I'm going to start it back.
A settlement to another victim bitten by the same dog just 5 months earlier until we told him.
So this shouldn't even happen to me.
The canine that bit David Hare left the force in 2014. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office told us after that dog had 2 bad bites in 1 year, it was clear he needed to be retired. I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser taking action for you.
Probably with a full pension too. Damn dog retiring with a full pension. That is one of the most barbaric things you can do to a person. I can understand if your dog is in your yard, patrolling your yard, if somebody go in your yard, then your dog do what it does, protect your house. But to sick a dog on somebody because you can't catch them or you don't have the fortitude to go and run after a suspect, you send a dog into the woods after somebody to bite them. That's crazy. You know, that goes from different, you know, who's a trainer, or if the trainer has the dog by the leash. Again, these canines, these dogs have their own mind. And the ones who train the canines, that person is that dog's FTO, field training officer. And whatever that dog does, it was trained by that field training officer. Most case scenario is not one of us. And for that Negro to sit there and talk about it has to be a felon, regardless to what, a dog should be only used to sniff out bombs and drugs. And then they lie when it comes to the damn drugs most of the time. They train the dog to lie.
Shout out my brother, he who enlightens. Much love, bro. Grand Rising, everybody. I'm with you, my brother, enemies public. They lie all the time.
They even train the dogs to lie when they sniffing out drugs in a vehicle. But we're supposed to trust the untrustworthy.
Shout out my brother, JJ. I see you out there, brother.
We shouldn't trust them at all. Most of the 99.9999999% of the time, they're not there to help you. No.
Especially if you're one of us.
Exactly.
Especially. They'll show more patience with other nationalities. But with us, it's like we're the criminals.
Yes. That even you know when they're trained in the training and when they're training to shoot center mass or they're training with the dogs, I can assure you that it's one of us they're training with. That's why they act so vicious when it comes to us. And what's crazy about that, you get these self-righteous ass cops that respond to a domestic violence call saying that a man shouldn't be the woman. He's right. A man shouldn't be the woman. But why do they beat women? If a woman is not complying with him, he beats her, handle her rough like she's not a woman. And the most calls for domestic violence is cops beating their wives. That's the most. That is the most. That is the most domestic violence calls in law enforcement is cops beating their wives. I mean, I could get with that, but when it comes to this system, it's not for us. Not for us. Because evil outweighs its good. When anything evil outweighs its good, we shouldn't deal with it. We shouldn't participate in it.
Hey, we're gonna go to the next video.
There's no doubt in your mind that that dog was cued to alert on that car?
Yes, correct.
Tonight, News Channel 5 Investigates has uncovered serious questions about the drug
Fair
dogs
use,
that
fair
police
use.
use to justify
I'm gonna drop the
searches along
link out for you,
Tennessee's
Rainstorm.
interstates.
All I'm
That
saying.
investigation discovered those dogs may not be as reliable as people think.
And as a result, innocent people could end up being treated like common criminals. News Channel 5's chief investigative reporter Phil Williams continues his exclusive investigation.
Well, as you know, this part of our investigation began when a California police officer and his wife contacted us about their own experience right here in Middle Tennessee, an experience with officers looking for suspected drug money that they can seize to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something real quick. Basically, these cops have diplomatic immunity, just like these politicians and these so-called presidents and vice presidents. That's why you have never seen a president locked up. They have diplomatic immunity. This corporation gave them diplomatic immunity. Finish the stream, the video, my bad.
Fund their agency.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
This dash cam video shows how the encounter began.
It just happened so fast, and I was upset and I was tired.
Lisa and Ronnie Hankins were on their way back home to California after a cross-country trip for a family funeral when they got stopped in Dixon County by an interstate interdiction agent with the 23rd Judicial District Drug Task Force, supposedly for a traffic violation.
Come on, have a seat in my truck for me. It's safer there.
I got upset when he took my wife out of the car. There's no reason to take her out of the car.
We say there's not anything illegal in it. Do you mind if I search it today to make sure?
I have talked to my husband.
When Lisa refused to give him permission,
I said, I haven't done anything for you to search my car.
And that was not the answer he wanted to hear.
Nope. I can tell he was getting upset with me.
Run your dog.
Agents brought out a drug dog. Within seconds, the dog sat on the driver's side.
Much
That's
love,
how it's
Pepper.
supposed
Goddess.
to show
I
it's
see
picked up the smell of
we
drugs.
got my brother.
We ran a dog and the dog's alerted on the vehicle, so
Rainstorm
we're going to be
on the panel.
searching, okay?
The couple no longer had a choice.
He already made up his mind what he was going to do.
As a federal police officer with the U.S. Marine Corps, Ronnie Hankins immediately had his suspicions.
100%. There's no doubt in my mind they cued that dog.
There's no doubt in your mind that that dog was cued to alert on that car?
Yes, correct.
We showed the video to Auburn veterinarian Professor Lawrence Myers. He's a nationally recognized expert on how detection dogs work. The first thing he noticed, there's no microphone on the handler, raising all sorts of questions.
Is the handler giving any audible cues to the dog or just simply saying sit?
So in this case, we don't hear what he's saying to the dog.
Correct. Not a clue.
Myers also noticed that the officer keeps his hands to himself on the passenger side, but as he rounds the car, that suddenly changes.
The officer pointed at the spot where the dog eventually sat before the dog sat. That's actually a cue.
Intentional?
I don't think so.
Myers said it could be a training issue.
Dogs take their cues from people. I must go investigate. What is he pointing at? And having stopped and paused in the whole thing, the officer then releases tension on the leash. The dog goes, sit.
Our investigation also uncovered another traffic stop where one interdiction agent from the 23rd takes his dog around a vehicle once, twice, 3 times without getting an alert. Instead of accepting the result, he blames the dog's arthritis. That's when another officer brings out his dog. After 2 rounds, he gets an alert, finally giving officers a reason to search.
One of them is definitely wrong. Which one?
In fact, a thorough search of the truck found no evidence of drugs or anything illegal.
The dog doesn't alert, so they assume there must be something wrong with the dog.
Right. And when the dog alerts and nothing is found, there must be some reason that it did alert.
A few years back, researchers from the University of California, Davis set up a test inside a church, supposedly to see how well drug and explosive detection teams could find contraband that had been hidden inside. The dogs hit 225 times, but there was a catch. There were no drugs or explosives anywhere, suggesting the dogs can sometimes react to what they sense from their handlers instead of what they actually smell. In fact, a review of reports kept by the 23rd shows that out of 24 alerts this year, in 15 cases, officers did not come up with any contraband that they could seize. Still, those reports show officers wrote up why they thought they got the alerts. The car was a California rental. A friend could have had marijuana the night before. Or officers spotted what looked like marijuana shake or residue in the carpet.
That's wishful thinking.
The dog could be wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Dogs are frequently wrong.
But they don't want to put that down in their report.
And I don't know why.
There's no reason that they should have violated our civil rights against search and seizure. They shouldn't even stopped us. There was no reason to stop us.
Ronnie Hankins says that as a police officer, he knew his rights, but that still did not protect him from what he believes was an illegal search.
If this happened to you, what does that say to you about the constitutional rights of people who pass through this area every day?
There's no telling how they get violated.
Again, no drugs were found in that car. As a result of the election of a new DA, there is, however, new leadership at the 23rd Drug Task Force, and those officials are reacting to our investigation. They are putting in place strict new requirements about videotaping such searches, and if officers don't like the results they get from one drug dog, like we saw in that video, they will not be allowed any longer to use a second one. And any seizures of cash or property must now be approved by the task force director himself.
So why don't we have audio from the dog handler?
That's a good question, a question we've been asking. His audio should have been recorded on a camera in his car, but when we asked for that video from that camera, we were told that for whatever reason, it doesn't exist.
And the dog hitting, we heard from the experts, and he doesn't think that that was intentional.
That's right. Based on what he saw, he thinks it was certainly a training issue.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Phil. Well, if you have information on something we should investigate, we want to hear from you. Send us your tips. The email address, investigate@newschannel5.com, or call 615-244-NEWS.
Fair use, fair use. Go ahead, my brother, Enemies Public. You got it. Let everybody else tap in afterwards.
They always go back and refer to the training issue. It is a training issue. He was trained to do exactly what he did, and he did it. Now, he did that because he wanted to justify that illegal stop, hoping that it was some contraband in that car. The dog sat down. He cued the dog to sit down to have justification for searching the car. And if it was something in the car, he would have had a lockup, a good bust. The reason why they called the second dog is to justify using the first dog in the damn first place. They had no reason, again, no reasonable articulable suspicion for even searching the man's car, and didn't even respect that the man was a cop himself. Didn't even respect that. They searched the man's car illegally, cued the dog to sit, to, suggest that there's drugs in the car. They thought they had a bus. They only do that because they had no reason to search the car in the first place. No reason. When you deny them access to your car in a physical K9. When that cop, there's justification. There's justification for doing the search, because you can't do, if they deny you the search, because you have to have a warrant or probable cause to search somebody. So they use the K9 to justify the physical search. Yet they found nothing. It is a training issue. They train those cops to do the illegal shit. I yield the mic to anybody who want to take it.
Hey, we got my brother Rainstorm on the panel. Welcome, Rainstorm.
Hey, man. Salute
Peace
y'all,
to brother
man.
Rainstorm. Peace, brother.
Hey, peace to y'all, man. I everything that brother said was totally 110% right. Right? They some dirty motherfuckers. I'm for real. I mean, I've never been charged with anything until recently. OG already know all this. I'm preaching to the choir. But the thing is, I was talking to my partner, right? A good friend of mine. I live with him in Atlanta, and he got to saying on my way down. Right now, I'm in North Carolina. On my way back to the crib, right, to deliver this load, and he kind of pissed me off. I said, "Man, you pissing me off, man," because he said, "Until y'all come together, all this." He on the same level. He understand what we talking about. He ain't no dumb motherfucker. He like, all from everything we've been talking about, right? He like, man, I until y'all come together, I really don't, want to go that way. I was like, man, I'm gonna be like, I'll be in the front row to you, man. We cool, but I'll be like, no, keep your ass over there. I said, it's too many of us from all you know, all the shit we've been talking about, right? I'm like, man, it really pissed me off. I said, man, you pissed me off. Because you looking at it like, oh, once you get it together, then I'll come over there.
Yeah.
I said, nah. I said, that ain't cool, man. And he's a Mason. Okay? I said, when I ask you something about the Masons, you be like, it's a secret. And I said, okay then. Well, goddamn it, it's a secret right now. You ask him, you know, like I said, he's my best man at my wedding 100 years ago. All that. I said, man, you got to stop all this. I know every goddamn thing, because you don't. I said, you don't listen to OG, you don't listen to Top Cat, you don't listen to Dane, you don't listen to Empress Holbert. I said, you know, work with me. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, you talking in a fucking circle. But you'll tell, he said, I do tell people. I said, tell them what? I tell my children. I said, fine. I get that. But you ain't got a channel where you're telling motherfuckers, you know, he knows his grandmama, she was cool as shit. We used to kick it with her. Choctaw, all that. I said, but you ain't said a goddamn thing. You was sitting over here talking to this mate. Soon as I asked your ass, what's up with the Masons? Oh, you gotta be one. I said, man, you don't realize, man, you know what? We still cool. Like I said, he a childhood friend. We've been friends since, I don't know, ever since high school. I'm 53. I'm like, man, I don't want to hear this shit. I said, hey, OG live. What you call live? Hey, ask them the questions you telling me. Well, why come we can't ask them? You know, and you won't do it, but you'll listen to Sports Center. Who's going to what team and all that shit. Go ahead, cuz.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you, brother, wholeheartedly. They into that sport and play, brother, but when it comes to the seriousness, they don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
Why?
but I asked them though.
They want
I
to
asked
be
them.
entertained, brother.
No, you're 110% right. I was like, man, what's up with Prince Hall? That's what you part of. You gotta be one of us. I don't want to be part of you motherfuckers. Why the fuck are they helping us? See, I realized, this is why I said, I realized, man, you're doing this for you. Go ahead, cuz. Go ahead. Go ahead. I follow you. I follow you.
Brother.
No. What I'm saying is, you saying build it for us. I come. This is what pisses me off. I'm gonna wait for you to get it done. Then I'm gonna march my little ass on over there. Man, fuck you, man. You ain't helping.
Brother, a lot of us is like that, brother. We jump on the bandwagon after we get something established. They don't want to help establish nothing.
That's what I said.
You know why?
Hey,
You know why? You know why? Because they don't believe. Because they don't believe. They don't believe in it.
Mic check.
Because they don't believe in it.
Mic check.
Go ahead, OG.
We're going to
Go
the
ahead.
next
Let
video.
OG
Please
say
mute
something.
up.
Going to the next video. We got mute up.
Thank you. Hold your thoughts, brother. That's all. You got it. Hold your thoughts. Write it down, something.
Hold your thought. Hold your thought.
Hold your thoughts.
What did he do? That's what I'm saying. For what? For what? For what? For what? I don't even live in Louisiana, so how would I have a? You don't know my name, so how can you tell me?
Fair use, fair use.
Sir. Clarence, okay, but you know sir. You just pulled him in front of my house and then I don't trust because you shaking like you scared or something.
Okay.
Shaking like you scared.
He don't live in Louisiana.
No, I don't live in Louisiana. How the hell would I have a warrant in Louisiana?
Quentin, you already said your name was that.
My name is not Quentin. What the f is wrong with you?
Sir, his name is not Quentin.
Then let's see the ID will be done.
Okay, hold on.
It's three different names. You woke up here told me three different names.
Hold on.
The third name you just know.
Clint.
No, I'm not gonna be the next you feel.
No.
No.
His name is not Quentin.
Quentin.
Let's do this and be done. I got no problem causing.
You just dropped in front of my fucking house.
Yes, I know who you are.
It's you know what's my name? Man, that you shaking like you scared. I'm not gonna let you put me in handcuffs.
Please stop. Please stop.
My name is not no fucking Quentin. You don't even know my name until I got a warrant in Louisiana.
Yes.
So I look like show me the picture. Show me the picture.
Okay, wait.
Walk with me.
No,
walk with me.
No.
Please, he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere.
I need to supervise
I am the supervisor. Come on.
Well, let me see your stripes. Well, I need
Let's walk
somebody
here to front of the car.
No, you're not
Walk
give
to
me
the
to your
front
car. No,
Sir.
Put my yard on my property.
Calm down. Stop.
You stop. You stop.
Who are you looking for?
That's
His
what I'm
name
saying.
is not Quentin.
Quentin. You think I'm look because I got dreads or something? You just pulled up in front of my fucking house and told me I got a warrant in Louisiana. So what? That's my fucking dog.
That's our dog.
That's
our dog.
Go in the house. Look,
sir, that's our dog.
Don't you touching me while you shaking. You need to step back and calm down. No, that.
Get my phone out of the car.
There you got him running.
Get my phone out.
Calm down. Calm down.
Here's the deal.
No, don't look like
That's
me.
not him.
What's wrong with you, man? What you trying to say? Because I got dreads and I'm black, that's me?
No.
That's not him.
She can see that's not me from
Oh
over
my
there.
God.
No,
what?
Stop.
My name, you ain't got no.
No, please stop. Please stop. Please leave him alone, please. No, please, that is not him. Please leave him alone.
Get out my yard,
I need to
man.
report on this.
No, you need to get the fuck out of my yard. You just said I'm somebody named Quentin. You got dreads and you black.
Come on.
What the fuck is that?
Okay, come on.
Nah, fuck that.
Okay.
Now you want to leave, right?
No, I want to do report on this.
No, you need to get somebody here that's over you because you just made the biggest fucking mistake.
Why?
How the fuck you pull in front of my yard because I'm black with dreads and tell me I got a warrant?
Okay. No, he just
racist.
said, my kids was out here.
No, my fucking kids.
Okay.
Fair use.
Now, he's seen that man walking his dog with his children and profiled them. And wanted to put that man in jail.
Yeah, you know we all Tyrone.
That sack of shit straight up profiled their brother and said you was walking a dog. Why? Because the brother and the sister got a nice house with a nice car parked in the driveway with a dog living the life that that bastard wanted to live, and he couldn't stand it and wanted to take that man away from his family.
Yeah, you know, the crazy part is he knew that wasn't the same person. His fucking racism kicked in his head, and it made that the same person. It made him Jamal. It made him Tyrone. You know what I'm saying? That's the crazy shit to me, man. Like,
Yes.
he knew that wasn't who he was looking for off top. He's so fucking racist and so mad and judgmental, it made him that person in his mind.
Yet they feel we're supposed to cooperate and just allow them to just kidnap us. Just kidnap us. Cooperate. Just come here with me. Let me put these shackles on you and take you away. And we'll work this out later. No. That's not how it goes. And we need to stop allowing that. See, what bothers me is when it's a group of us, it's enough of us to deal with a situation, and we'll allow two of them and come. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish, please. We allow two of them to come around us and do what they want. We have to stop that because it's our community and they are tyrants amongst us. We can't allow people just come in our community like the George Floyd thing. That couldn't have happened where I'm at. Derek Chauvin would have got off that brother's neck. And that Asian cop that was keeping people at bay would have been asleep. I'm not going to stand by and watch a man die right before my eyes, somebody sitting on his neck. No, not going down. Not going down on my watch. He would have straight up got up off him. We'd have got him off him. You're not doing that in front of me. Or anybody with mind like mine, you're not going to do that where I'm at. It'll never happen. And I live in a small city, 5 miles by 5 miles. But don't get caught slipping walking through. That bothers me when we stand around and allow stuff like that.
We gotta stand against that. You know, we gotta put it into our minds that we gotta do something. You know, because if we don't do something, nobody's gonna do something. You know, it's just gonna continue to happen. And you know, whether that's with force or, you know, by legal action.
Indeed.
You know, I'm not calling out for any specific restraint, but one needs to be taken, period.
Yes.
Hey, brother, if you gotta hold your tongue, then I think this is the wrong platform for you to be on. Cause we ain't holding our tongue over here. So if you feel like that, you should get off the panel, brother. If you feel like that, you should get off the panel. This is the wrong place for you. Or mute up. I'm being nice. I'm trying to be respectful. We ain't kissing nobody's ass over here.
Nah.
Nobody's.
We ain't doing that.
So if you scared to speak up, then you need to get off the platform. Go back in the chat. Shout out. Shout out Chocolate Earth Foundation, Adine. Sadiq, Kia Wanis, and Kia Brown. Shout out, y'all. Now, the only thing you can bail out is mute up, brother.
Well, we gotta move on, brother. We gotta move on.
I got you.
We gotta move
We're
on.
gonna go to another video, man. I asked, dig this. Real rap. I'm gonna let I act like we giving a presentation. When we finish the presentation, you can tap in. We ain't finished the presentation. It's like it's going in one ear and out the other, brother. Relax. Everybody gonna get to talk. Appreciate all of y'all, man. We're going to the next video. Mute up. I got you. If you see the brother talking, wait till he finished, then say something.
I almost lost my life behind it.
The woman in this disturbing video, Latika Hancock, emotional as she relives Monday's encounter with Butler Township Police.
Well, I said, I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to stand up. I'm not going to be George Floyd. They're not going to get me on the ground.
Police body cam video is showing us what led up to the moment a Butler Township police officer punched Hancock 3 times in a McDonald's parking lot.
She refused to take my dollar to give me 30 cents after I paid it for extra cheese. So then she got an attitude because I asked her for a refund and called the police because she didn't want to give me back my money.
Officers Todd Stanley and Tim Zeller listened to her side of the story, then asked her for her first and last name to issue a trespass notice.
If you don't stop, you're going to end up going to jail. Stop.
Hancock, write it down.
Calm down.
I'm not giving you nothing. I already said it.
Okay, you're under arrest.
No,
Hands
I'm
behind your
not.
back. Put
No,
your
I'm
hands
not.
behind your back.
No, I'm not.
You are under arrest for failure to identify.
It quickly escalated. Officers grab her, and Zeller pulls out his taser. Hancock tries to reason, but it's too late. Officer Stanley strikes her 3 times in the face and head.
You punched me on your own will.
No, it says
I didn't punch you.
Beat up.
I didn't resist. No, I didn't. I'm a female.
Stop.
Look at my mouth.
Stop.
Do you think your officers used excessive force here?
I'm not going to comment on that until the entire investigation is complete.
Tuesday, the police department launched an investigation into the conduct of both officers, but only Officer Stanley is on paid administrative leave. Hancock and her legal team say it's not enough.
And we're asking him to be terminated and to be convicted and to be charged. Yes, both officers, and to be charged. That's what we're asking. And we want an independent investigator. This must stop. These officers and their brutality and their, condescending approach.
Attorney Michael Wright says officers injured his client due to the use of force, and he says Butler Township and McDonald's played a role in what happened to her. Ms. Hancock, what does justice look like for you?
They taught us all through growing up.
You want to hold these officers accountable.
Be accountable. Every action has a consequence.
Like I said earlier, these police officers would show up to a domestic violence call being self-righteous, saying how much a man shouldn't hit a woman, and look at the behavior he displayed against the woman, repeatedly punching her in her face. A man punching a woman because she wouldn't comply with his perceived authority. They spoke to the young sister. That should have been it. But no, they wanted to escalate it to something bigger than it should have been. Punching her in her face as if she don't have brothers, a father, uncles, men in her family that can come see him. That's the mentality and the attitude we have to take. Because if you don't, your daughter will fall a victim to that, meaning you'll fall a victim to that. They don't have no type of reluctancy or apprehensiveness about putting their hands on our women. That's where it's become, because we did nothing in the first place. We allow this to linger and escalate to where it is. Excuse me, I'm not done, brother. I'm not done. If we would have stopped this from the beginning, it would never have escalated to where it's at now. It's to the point where they beat our daughters. They put their knees on the necks of our daughters. They hold our daughter down. They slam our daughters out their desks. They grabbed our daughters by their hair because we did nothing from the beginning. That's the reason why they do what they do, because we did nothing from the beginning. We have to be willing to die for our women. You touch my wife, you're about to kill me. Why? Coming straight at you. Tunnel vision. Touch my daughter, you're about to kill me. And that's the mentality and attitude we have to take. They're coming in our houses now disrespecting us. That's why this system, we got to get out of it. Got to divorce this system. I yield the mic.
We got to stop participating, when it comes to giving up our rights. We got to let it be known that we don't comply. Because everything you say and everything you do gonna be held against you. They tell you that. So it don't matter if you trying to plead or be nice, and it don't matter. It's already against you once you give up your rights and once you comply. So you don't give up no rights.
Yes.
You don't give up your rights, so they give you the Miranda rights. They tell you once they read them rights, they tell you what rights you got. You got the right to do this. You got the right to do that. How's they telling you what right you?
Exactly. See, the brother JJ, the enlightened one, said it clear, 100% correct. We had to be ferocious in our unity. See, our problem is, I'm going to go back to what OG said earlier. The religion teaches us to be docile and to be obedient, okay? Because we think we got an award if we do. We need to guard and protect our people. And we the only one believe that bullshit. They don't believe that bullshit. They teach it to us, but they don't believe that bullshit. Because you go around a house with trying to mess with one of theirs, you're gonna see what happens. So we need to get out of that and be the God that give life and take it. That's what we need to be. Be that God that give life, give it and take it. Enough of this foolishness. Because foolishness got us to where we are now.
Hey, we're gonna play another video, brother, and I picked up a couple more also.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
Got you. This one, the origin, I think it's short. Origin of policing in America.
Okay.
It seems really trite to say if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. But nothing illustrates that more than the history of policing.
Policing, in one form or another, has existed since colonial days. In the form of night watches, local sheriffs, and militias. But it wasn't until the 19th century that northern cities such as Boston created modern police departments as we would recognize them today.
I see.
These northern departments were not the first example of a uniformed, publicly funded law enforcement institution in America.
By the time the northern colonies were afoot in the 17th century, the idea of keeping track of the most valuable asset in the United States, that is enslaved Africans, animated much of what we recognize today as law enforcement.
In the 1700s, the South saw the rise of official, salaried slave patrols, whose task was to capture, control, and brutalize enslaved people.
Fair use, fair use.
The initial acts that empower slave patrols and militias were acts that basically empowered all white people to surveil and punish all black people.
These slave patrols were required to serve a tour of duty, usually up to a year. Individuals were compensated for their time, but they were also penalized if they did not show up for their required service.
All white people, including white children, were expected to enforce so-called slave codes. These laws were meant to prevent enslaved people from organizing or rebelling. It was against the law, for example, for enslaved people to leave their plantations, gather without a white person present, learn to read or write, or even defend themselves if attacked by a white person. After the Civil War, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery except as a punishment for a crime.
The South immediately moves to exploit this loophole by passing a series of crime bills known as Black Codes, which essentially criminalize all forms of Black freedom.
Without the bone. Eat the fruit.
They criminalize unemployment by adopting these very broad vagrancy laws that essentially criminalize any Black person who can't prove that they're working. Any African American who challenges the terms of work, barters or brokers for a better deal, turns down a terrible offer, walks away from an abusive employer or a relationship with a landowner, by definition becomes a vagrant and by definition becomes a criminal.
I think the brother probably got knocked out, because that's what happened last time. It paused. It paused. Yeah, we don't rock with 100% of what the video is talking about. Just eat the fish and spit out the bones. Because you're just going over the origin of police, but the real law enforcement is really sheriff, because that's what sheriff. They just called. Brother, you interrupted me again. Hold your thought, brother. Hold your thought. Give me a second. The real law is sheriff. That's what sheriff means, but they just changed the way they said it into sheriff. But sheriff means the law. That's the original law. The police is policy enforcers. They came later, and their origin is, and the policy was that we are to bend, under their necks, as the video said. That's the policy they had back then. And a whole lot of these so-called establishments that's here today started off as like slave patrol, like a Wells Fargo, a Aetna,
Brother,
brother.
man.
Well, the police, their origin, they've been doing what they do today all along concerning us. If you go back to like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up to the year I was born, it's always been the same. Always been sicking dogs on us, putting water hoses on us, beating us and shooting us. Always been like that. So it's nothing new today that they do that. It's just that we need to understand that this system wasn't designed for us. It's not rigged. It's working the way it was designed, and we need to get out of it, not participate in it. Because if we participate in it, we're only trying to fit in it, even if we decide to take that job. If we're not being a so-called maverick and changing the culture, because the police culture is what causes what they do.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not
back,
training.
bro.
It's not training. It's culture.
I'm back. Mic check. We're about to finish
Loud and
that
clear, brother.
video,
Loud and clear.
everybody.
People in many cases, they're lower status in society.
What we see is that
Read
that
up. We
general
finished
way
and
of
watching
thinking
the
about
video,
race
please.
and thinking about disorderly people never really changes. It's kind of woven into the DNA. But it's not just because individual police officers are racist. It's because the institution was literally created to make sure that wealthy and powerful people could extract labor.
Early police departments in the North had a similar goal to control labor and were notoriously corrupt.
The police functioned as an expression of political elites and powerful, affluent people who essentially wanted poor people to stay in their segregated slum communities. Police often functioned as enforcers of political machines, functioned one step removed from gangs.
Police often worked in the service of business owners who were faced with growing unrest among their labor forces in the wake of mass European immigration and rapid industrialization.
One of the best examples of this is the Pennsylvania State Police. The institutions that precede the Pennsylvania State Police are actually private police forces which are owned by people who are running coal mines. And their job is explicitly to control the workers who are trying to unionize for rights.
The story of policing in the United States is the story of systems meant to protect and serve only a fraction of Americans. It is this history that many of today's activists point to when calling for the defunding or even the abolishment of police.
The cops not protecting us, we gotta protect us.
The ability to police crime or inequality or poverty or races or whatever was the social problem to be solved by law enforcement was always an act of political power and discretion. And it just so happens that African Americans have stood in that position for the longest of any other population.
What the history does is it allows us to decouple the idea of public safety from the idea of police. What actually protects women from rape and from sexual assault, right? What actually stops people in communities, both Black and white, from killing each other? What kinds of things actually help people who are mentally ill? Are those things police? And I think very quickly, once you reflect on that, you realize the answer is no. We have to stop saying police are broken. We have to say police are working, and we need to create another institution to do public safety.
Exactly.
Don't buy another pair of glasses until you've seen what this new invention can do. These self-adjustable glasses are taking the world by storm. They let you achieve a perfect 20/20 vision at any distance, which means you won't have to visit your eye doctor ever again. They were created by an optician who dedicated his life to providing a solution for myopia, hyperopia, and astigmatism. The story of John Myers' discovery began 3 years ago after thousands of eyeglass prescriptions. He noticed a trend. As people get older, they need to change their glasses way too often. And when you're nearsighted and farsighted, you need to have 2 pairs of glasses with you. But having to carry 2 pairs of glasses all the time is downright annoying, not to mention quite expensive too. John also discovered another big issue. Almost all spectacle wearers suffered from eye strain and fatigue. It turned out a lot of his clients were wearing glasses with an incorrect prescription. John teamed up with an optical engineer to fix these issues and make everyone's life easier. After more than 2 years of research and development and another 10 months of testing, iOptics was born. iOptics is an innovative pair of glasses.
My bad, everybody. Let my brother Enemies Public get it, Key get it, and everybody else can tap in after that. Y'all got it.
Yes, we have to have another institution who have a genuine concern for the people patrol our areas. Even if they look like us, it doesn't mean that they have a genuine concern for our people. It's best that the people are from the area where they patrol, because they can't do dirt here and go 20 miles away after doing dirt here for 10 to 12 hours, busting heads, and then going back to where they live at, and then bragging to their counterparts the niggas' ass that they whipped today. So if the brother or sister live where they patrol and grew up where they patrol, 9 times out of 10, it would be a genuine concern for the people that they're supposed to be really serving and protecting. That's when serving and protecting will happen, when the person lived there, because they care about their community. But you're not gonna tell me you care about the community when you don't live here. You don't. I can understand if you was from a community and moved and came back. A lot of people love where they're from, but if you've never been here, you don't care about this community. You're just getting a paycheck. At the same time, your perks is your perceived power. I'll land right there.
That's right. In a lot of those cases, those people take advantage of running up their marker, running up their arrest, or running up their tickets that they give out. A lot of them run up bodies because, within these orders, they get points for that. So these are a lot of things that we have to think about when we got officers patrolling communities that they're not from or that they're not a part of, because these are some of the things that they take advantage of. Unfortunately, we got to understand that they doing their job. Like they said at the end of the video, like my brother, the Enemies Public always say, that the system working. It was never for us. So we got to keep that in mind. And I'll relinquish the mic, man. Go ahead, you got it.
I just want to say this. I want to say this real quick though. When you send motherfuckers overseas, right, for war, Vietnam, whatever the fuck, right? Them not they people, right? So they gonna do whatever. It's like, I don't know you. It's the same thing, but we at home, right? So it's like, damn.
Damn, bro, you didn't hear my man talking? You just interrupted him while he's in the middle of talking, man. Come on, bro.
No, he good. He good. He good.
No,
but I'm just saying.
I don't dig this. Dig this. Y'all ain't supposed to be up here first. I'm being nice. The title got me, the public enemy, and Key Norfolk. I'm being nice letting my brother up. But he taking my kindness for weakness now. and I'm getting tired of it. He just cut you off. That ain't cool. That ain't cool. I want the platform, and it don't gotta be my way I want. I'm just saying I want one person speaking at a time. Wait for that person to speak. Once he finished, then you can jump in. Not in the middle of what you talking. It ain't that important. I got a pen and pad. If I gotta write some shit down, I write it down. I got a pen and pad. Get a pen and pad. You gotta remember some shit. Just don't cut nobody off. That's all I'm saying.
I heard you. I heard you.
That's
But
all.
you know,
A little.
I mean,
respect.
I was.
Go ahead, brother.
I've been
letting you
sitting here.
on, King Genocide. But next time I ain't letting you on.
I just been sitting here. I've been listening the whole time, right? Plus, I gotta lay down a minute. I gotta take this shit to Atlanta. I ain't gonna lie. But make a long story short, when you send, I was in the Marine Corps, right? If you send motherfuckers somewhere, they don't care about the other people. Here you are, do your goddamn job. Whether slay, kill, whatever. You don't know them. They ain't your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, your mama, your daddy, whatever, right? So I look at it like that. Now that I've gotten older, it's like, oh, okay, I see. Same way with these goddamn police. Like brother said, I don't live around you motherfuckers. I do anything, you know, and then drive my ass back out to the county and sleep good, and then go to work again tomorrow and fuck you up some more. I mean, you know, it's so diabolical to where you can lay your motherfucking head down, fuck up somebody, and be like, oh well, that's what the fuck happens, collateral damage. But you don't live here. You don't know what's going on. I remember we was little, the police would come hang out and give us candy and shit back home in St. Louis and all that. Now them motherfuckers don't do none of that. They used to ride too. They used to walk the streets and shit. They ain't doing that shit. Like the dude said, get a check. Like you flipping fucking hamburgers or some shit at McDonald's. You know, all right. I got an old white partner of mine. He's a police officer. Been there almost 15 years. He loved his job. He said, I love when niggas run. I fuck them up. Guess where his ass live at? Way out in the county in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I had to say about it. I land on that, man. It's like, you can't send me somewhere and I don't know the people. You know, this ain't Andy fucking Griffin. They don't give a shit. They truly don't care. They're like, hey, well, fuck it. I went to work. What'd you do? Fry some chicken. Like, you make it seem like me and them, they make it seem like it's like you working a normal job. No, motherfucker. You got a gun on you, dogs, backup, all kinds of shit, and you don't give a fuck what the fuck you doing. I don't understand. I understand it, but I don't understand why our people don't understand it. That's all I got to say, man. Y'all go ahead. Y'all got it.
Yes.
Are here to protect us. And I think that a lot of the conversations you're seeing across the country are basically asking the question, well, wow, police are here to protect us. Why does it seem like at least a lot of communities feel like that's not happening?
See, how long is this program? This is David Cooper, a retired Wisconsin police chief with over 30 years of experience. He's been on the front line fighting for change inside police departments for years now.
Well, should we start at slave patrols? Yep, that was slave patrols.
Slave patrols were an organized group of armed white men who would monitor and enforce discipline upon black slaves in the 1800s.
And then that kind of morphed into Jim Crow. And it was quite obvious about whose side the police were on. I mean, there wasn't any question. If you were a person of color and you had a beef about how a white person or a store owner or somebody was treated to you, forget about it. You know, you're going to jail.
My name is Chinjirai Kumanika, and I'm an assistant professor in Rutgers Department of Journalism and Media Studies. You know, what you have to understand is that in early America, right, a lot of the wealth was made. I mean, the wealth was basically made by exploiting labor. And so in the South and places where slavery was, the economic system, that meant you're exploiting slave labor. What you see is, from the beginning, these departments have kind of a racist function. I see a lot of people, kind of talking about this, and they'll say, well, our police are broken, but we have to reestablish trust. The question I would say is, okay, but if the police are broken, what year in American history did the police break? If you're talking about reestablishing trust, can you point to the year in American history where there was a foundation of trust between the Black community, for example, and police officers? Are you going to say that there was trust between the Black community during Jim Crow in the 20s? But a lot of police officers have found it hard actually to do that job.
Well, it's always been tense. When I worked on the street in Minneapolis, after Dr. King was slain, and the north side of Minneapolis most of the businesses were burned and looted. I decided we had to do something different. I was just a patrol officer at the time. I went to the captain of my station, the North Side Station, and I said, I think we should put a footbeat down in the Black community. And I said, I want an exemption to one department rule. I don't want to have to wear my hat this summer because I want people to know who I am. And if I wear my hat, somebody might shoot me thinking I was one of those other officers.
David did see a change. He was able to connect with local citizens on a personal level. He realized that by showing respect, he would receive it back in return.
Nobody wants to live in a crime, crazy-ridden neighborhood. Everybody wants that. And so as my trust and support came, well, then I got a lot of information about crime, and I think I did a really effective job.
That was the first of many efforts David would make to bridge the gap between the Black community and the police department. Years later, David would be at the center of a culture shift with other departments around the country taking notice, and it all started with the uniform change.
So the Blazer uniforms worked excellently. It was well received by the public. We got an article in Newsweek magazine about what we were doing, and the idea just caught on. There was not a military uniform available. That was the only. It was consisted of a blue blazer and shirt and a tie. And then that was the standard. You could have whatever color tie you wanted. The blazer had the police department emblem on the pocket.
Uniforms were controversial when they were introduced. Police officers weren't into uniforms, but what they recognized with uniforms is that they offered police officers a kind of prestige and a kind of sort of seeming official, so it just didn't seem like just, some dudes from around the way coming to arrest you. Now we see surveillance technology, and of course we see military weaponry. You have that kind of equipment, that kind of warrior mentality. You go into a community, you may see yourself as there to serve the people, but the community is not going to see you that way. And I think that, that's a real problem if we're trying to rebuild trust. Now, again, I wouldn't use the word rebuild trust because I can't point to a point when there was trust. But I can certainly say that rolling
never been no trust in my
like
community.
You're occupying force. Tear gas, rubber bullets, tanks. That certainly is worsening trust.
It's hard to change the police on the state level. Standards boards, everything, and it's impossible to do it nationally. But good people can get together on, cities and counties and townships and say, we're gonna work with the police to make them better.
It's one hand make a community that's more robust with social programs, so you need less institutions for public safety. And at the same time, create an economy where all those people who are currently employed as police officers can find other ways to really help. And I think that's the solution.
Over the years, there have been attempts to change the culture inside law enforcement, as well as efforts to bridge the gap between them and the community, but many have fallen short. Today, David believes this is the tipping point to the fight he's been battling for decades.
Hey everyone, Cody Broadway here. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out the NBCLX YouTube channel. Be sure to click here.
Fair use, fair use. Go ahead, my brother enemies. You got it.
Yes, sir, brother.
And real quick, shout out to Rainstorm. Appreciate you, brother. Drive safe. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, drive safe, Rainstorm. Thanks for coming through, brother. Yeah, a lot of our people, and they try to tell us that, you know, we're going to hire more minorities and we're going to get more people on the departments, as if it's going to change anything when they get on the department and they do exactly what you said, brother OG, and they just try to fit in. And a lot of times they'll do worse to us than others do. And I find that all these major police departments and superintendents of state police and police departments, and especially correctional facilities, the wardens is our people. Our people. I know in New Jersey, the superintendent of all state prisons is one of us. And our people are under horrendous conditions in these prisons. And a whole bunch of police captains and superintendents and police directors, they're one of us. And still we're under those conditions because they got in and they fit in, and a lot of them was making like 6 figures doing their job. And that's the only thing they care about, climbing that ladder. Even in Jersey City, they have a sister who's a police superintendent who was never a cop. They hired a civilian, which is probably a good idea, to be a civilian as the police's boss. That's probably a good idea. And I think it's another municipality in New Jersey where they have a civilian as a police director. Probably a better idea than having somebody come up through the ranks that's going to sign off everything that they do. But my sentiment is, don't participate. We have to establish something as ours. That's what we need to do, something that's ours. I yield the mic, brothers.
Might take a little time to get there, you know, till we find, you know, a system that works.
Yes.
But it's worth trying. Oh yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
definitely.
you got time for another video, brother?
Yes, sir. And also before you play it, brother, we have to consider what our people's gone through. We have to be patient with our people also. We have to be patient when working with our people. Yes, sir. I got time for another video, good brother.
Got you. This, I think, 13 minutes, but we can go through it quick. You know, this is the origin of police. The origin of the police. The origin of U.S. law. Fair use.
And we'll be analyzing the discriminatory history of U.S. law, tracing its origins in colonialism to the present-day penal system. In order to deconstruct this troubling history, we'll be looking at 4 distinct time periods of U.S. law. First, we'll look at the foundation of legal discrimination based on race during colonialism. Next, we'll examine the system of chattel slavery to see how the legacies of colonialism translated into ongoing legal subjugation for Black subjects in the US. Third, we'll explore how Jim Crow laws extended legal discrimination into the 20th century. And finally, we'll discuss how the concepts of being tough on crime in the latter half of the 20th and early 21st century allowed the continuation and expansion of discriminatory laws under the umbrella of mass incarceration. By tracing this timeline, we'll be looking at the ways discriminatory legal practices have always disproportionately impacted Black and Brown communities, and how these legacies and laws continue to have adverse effects on vulnerable communities to this day. But before we get into the heart of how laws and sentencing structures can be discriminatory, we should clarify a few key terms, namely crime and punishment. And no, I'm not talking about the Dostoevsky novel of the same name. I'm talking about crime or breaking of laws, and punishment, as in the penalty you pay as a result of being found guilty of committing a crime. Although we often think of these things as directly correlated, think of the old adage, if you do the crime, you've got to do the time. There's actually not a direct relationship between how much crime is committed and what types of punishment are meted in penal culture. Professors often have vast and punishment rates. Often, he writes, this can be seen by comparing crime and punishment trends in Finland, Germany, and the United States between 1960 and 1990. The trends are close to identical. Violent crime rates in all three countries grew by a factor of 3 to 4, and homicide rates more than doubled. Yet the US imprisonment rate quadrupled in that period, the Finnish rate fell by 60%, and the German rate was broadly stable. So in this example, we see three countries with almost identical crime trends, with three starkly different ideas of punishment. Therefore, when we analyze how laws are broken and punishment is assigned, we have to look at why societies change their stances on crime and punishment. Tonry attributes this to a few factors, two important ones being moral panics and the sensibilities of a society. Moral panics, as he describes them, occur when a society sees a moral or social issue and overreacts as a result, which usually leads to increased rates of punishment or more severe punishment for offenders. Another cause is that societal sensibilities, or the attitudes and beliefs of the society, often change, which in turn changes the types of acts we consider crimes and the types of things we consider as just punishment. So although we're often taught to look at crime as directly correlated to punishment, there's actually an argument to be made that they're working somewhat independently of each other. Which brings us to our first stop in the history of legal discrimination in the United States, colonialism and slavery. After colonies were established in North America, colonists were subject to the laws and customs of England. In their essay, Situating Colonialism, Race, and Punishment, Professors Jeeta Chowdhury and Mark Beeman explain how the development of slavery in the North American colonies and later in the early United States.
Here we go.
Which brings us to our first stop in the history of legal discrimination in the United States, colonialism and slavery. After colonies were established in North America, colonists were subject to the laws and customs of England. In their essay, Situating Colonialism, Race.
Y'all hear that? What y'all think about that? And I think that we're still, the laws are from England.
Oh yeah, you know that's part of the United States policy.
Basically,
you know,
I say that's
where
this police ordinance and all this shit came from.
That's it.
When they came,
that's why they run in America, not from America. They run in America from the District of Columbia, they headquarters. That ain't considered this soil.
Gotcha.
That's the root where it go back to.
Y'all heard that. Go ahead, kid.
Oh no, you on point, OG. I'm tracking with you.
Gotcha. I'm gonna play it back. If y'all hear something and want me to stop, just let me know.
And punishment, Professors Jeeta Chowdhury and Mark Beeman explain how the development of slavery in the North American colonies, and later in the early United States, became dependent on the passage of discriminatory laws that specifically targeted people of African descent. They detail how, although the concept of discrimination based on ethnic or social groups dates back to antiquity, the idea that race was entirely based on skin tone and physical features evolved alongside the emergence of chattel slavery. Then the ideal was solidified with the emergence of scientific racism in the 18th and 19th centuries. Chowdhury and
Y'all
Beeman
heard
go on
that?
to note that although some
Scientific
of the original people of
racism.
African descent who entered the English colonies came as indentured servants and were eventually set free.
Yeah, that's that's the lie. I ain't saying it wasn't done, but I'm talking about what she said after that. I'm gonna let you.
Chowdhury and Beeman go on to note that although some of the original people of African descent who entered the English colonies came as indentured servants and were eventually set free, similar to English indentured servants, this quickly changed when colonists turned to chattel slavery as a source of consistent, exploited, and unpaid labor. They write, in other words, slavery seems to have evolved in part as a punishment reserved for Africans originally indentured. English indentured servants, presumably protected by English rights and the Christianity they shared with their masters, avoided such punishment. From the 1640s through the 1660s, with the principle of lifelong involuntary servitude established for Africans in colonial America, individual colonies began enacting legislation declaring Negroes sent to the colonies and their offspring slaves for life. In short, slavery in British colonial America became a punishment for being Black. With this important distinction, colonial America created the system of chattel slavery that sentenced Black people to perpetual servitude. Slavery created an explicit relationship between race and the law from the earliest foundations of American society. And this new legal category meant that new forms of punishment and torture were invented to accommodate this shift in who could be considered a full person under the law. Soon, laws and colonial codes were written to regulate the control and punishment of the
Rashard in
enslaved.
the house. I see
Although
you, brother.
slavery was
Much
not
love
the
and
first
respect.
instance of race being tied to laws in the new colonies. The colonization of land in North America was based on the assumption that Native Americans did not have rights to the land they had inhabited long before settler colonialism declared North America as uninhabited. Therefore, laws that allowed white settlers to displace and physically harm Native Americans also established an early relationship between race and the law in colonial America. While most punishment was left up to slave owners and could include torture, brutal beatings, rape, and other inhumane cruelties, more serious punishment, such as execution, was sometimes left up to the discretion of judges for supposed offenses that occurred away from the plantation. But whether it was being
I
dealt
don't
by
think her
overseers and
information is
owners or
that
by the
great.
state, the result was a system of exploitation and
Not a
legally supported
coincidence. I think she's
subjugation
lying.
that left Black subjects almost entirely outside of the protections of the
Going a
law.
lot of
This
lying.
system remained firmly in place in parts of the United States until 1865, with the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. But even these newly won freedoms could not guarantee the continuation of legal and extra-legal methods of racial and social control. Following the close of the Civil War in 1865, the US entered into a period known as Reconstruction, which lasted until the 1870s. Although there were some legal and societal victories for Black subjects during this time, they were swiftly overturned and replaced by Jim Crow laws.
OG, can
Jim
you
Crow
stop there for a
introduced a set of
second?
laws that systematically stripped Black citizens of their rights while also relegating them to inferior.
This female, she's from Rutgers also, in my city. And this is the same woman who compared us. She said all Black men. She compared us to the Peyton Gendron, the one who shot up the people in Buffalo, New York. She compared us to him. We don't go around doing that, but she compared us to them. She is a self-hating ass Negro woman who don't love her own people, but she's in so-called African studies at Rutgers University. I knew I recognized her from somewhere. You can go ahead, good brother.
Separate but equal public facilities like schools, washrooms, and sections of the bus, among other indignities. Black citizens were denied access to basic rights like voting, while also suffering under the weight of racial terror imposed by groups like the KKK and other white supremacists who organized lynchings and other forms of racialized violence. Jim Crow laws effectively relegated Black subjects to second-class citizenship based on a racialized caste system where white citizens of disenfranchisement was also supported by methods of financial control like sharecropping, which effectively reinstated the financial inequity of slavery through unfair practices, and systems identical to slavery and the labor of prisoners to complete tasks. The businesses would pay the state, and the prisoners would be forced to perform labor for free. As a result, Southern states started incarcerating newly emancipated Black citizens at a higher rate for anything from petty theft to vagrancy to other vaguely defined laws. This practice lasted from the late 19th century into the early 20th century. For more on the convict leasing system, check out our episode, Why Do We Have Private Prisons?, right here on our channel. The story of Jim Crow finally came to an official end with the emergence of the modern civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, when civil rights leaders and activists fought to have these decades-long practices rolled back. But that only led to new ways of racialized legal discrimination. In her book, The New Jim Crow, legal scholar, civil rights lawyer, and advocate Michelle Alexander details the relationship between race and continued legal discrimination in the form of mass incarceration. In the 1960s, the prison population in the United States was around 200,000, but by the early 2000s, that number had exploded to over 1.5 million people in prison, with hundreds of thousands in other penal facilities. Think youth facilities, jails, and immigrant detention centers. And much of that increase can be attributed to Reagan-era war on drugs policies, although the war on drugs was first popularized by the Nixon administration in the 1970s. Popular wisdom connects these policies to the rise of crack cocaine across the US. However, according to Alexander, the official political campaign in 1982, known as the War on Drugs, actually predates the rise of crack cocaine addiction it was commonly assumed to address. She writes, "A few years after the drug war was declared, crack began to spread rapidly in the poor Black neighborhoods of Los Angeles and later emerged in cities across the country. The Reagan administration hired staff to publicize the emergence of crack cocaine in 1985 as part of a strategic effort to build public and legislative support for the war. The media campaign was an extraordinary success. The media bonanza surrounding the new demon drug helped to catapult the war on drugs from an ambitious federal policy to an actual war. Because of its cheaper price, crack cocaine use spread more rapidly in poor communities than its more expensive counterpart, powder cocaine. After the war on drugs picked up popularity and speed, we began to see the rapid incarceration of minorities, oftentimes for non-violent drug-based offenses as a result. And those arrested for crack cocaine-related charges face much more severe sentences compared to other drug offenses. For example, it was common practice to follow the 100-to-1 rule. An op-ed in the New York Times explains, "In what's known as the 100-to-1 rule, federal law mandates a 10-year sentence for anyone caught with 50 grams of crack, about the weight of a candy bar. To get a comparable sentence, a dealer selling powdered cocaine would have to be caught with 5,000 grams, enough to fill a briefcase." This wasn't rolled back until 2010 when Congress passed the Fair Sentencing Act. The act reduced the disparities between sentencing for crack and powder cocaine from 100-to-1 to 18-to-1. But despite the partial reversal of war on drugs policies, the US still imprisons more people per capita and overall than any other country in the world. And although African Americans made up only roughly 13% of the US population in the 2010 census, in many areas, they are the majority of the prison population, even though they are not necessarily committing crime at a higher rate than white populations. As a result, Alexander writes, although this new system of racialized social control purports to be colorblind, it creates and maintains racial hierarchy much as earlier systems of control did. Like Jim Crow and slavery, mass incarceration operates as a tightly networked system of laws, policies, customs, and institutions that operate collectively to ensure the subordinate status of a group defined largely by race. In her book, she details the ways that those who are convicted of crimes are permanently labeled as felons and thus systematically barred from access to the full rights of citizenship through processes like employment discrimination, being denied the right to vote, and being excluded from jury duty, although some activist groups are fighting to reverse or lessen these discriminations. So this episode just scratches the surface of the ways that laws can be established to promote unequal life outcomes for different citizens based on race. We haven't even begun to cover other forms of legal and extra-legal discrimination that occur on the basis of gender, immigration status, sexuality, and class, not to mention other minority groups that have been exposed to increased policing, surveillance, and punishment as a result of legal discrimination. It also raises fundamental questions about the law.
For that, my brother. Y'all got it. You got it, the enemy's public.
Yes, sir. She's a straight up kumbaya, self-hating Negro woman.
You know, they quick to talk about slavery, but they ain't talking about how we were reclassified here, the Americans that was already here. But they quick to bring up slavery. That's, the systems information. We can listen past that, because us over here, we know that it may have happened. We ain't saying it didn't happen. We saying we wasn't a cargo when it did happen.
Yes, see, that's what I don't like. And they also go back when they mention our history, they start there, as if we didn't have a history before that. They start our history with slavery, and then Jim Crow laws, and then civil rights. Our history goes back way further than that. In America, not somewhere else, in America. But they want to seem like we were some cargo brought over here, and then it was Jim Crow laws, and then cargo brought over here, a benevolent white man freed us, Jim Crow laws, and then the civil rights. A bunch of nonsense. But she got her degree madness, brother. She got her degree madness. She's a professor there at Rutgers in my city. She has her degree madness. She knows her indoctrination, not necessarily the truth, but she knows her indoctrination. I guarantee she got an A. Well, she did get an A because she's a teacher now. She's a professor of African studies. All this shit going on with our people, she want to study way the hell over there. You better study to free your damn people. Learn how to free your damn people out of the clutches of our enemy, this vicious enemy we up against. And she want to go all the way over there. And then while she's studying African studies, she want to condemn us and compare us to white murderers. The mockery of it all, brother. I have to get ready to go, brothers, because I have to get up early in the morning. But I want to leave, our people with something. We have to get out of pointing out what others are not doing. If I'm not doing something, Big Dog Philly OG is not doing something, Key Norfolk's not doing something, and the brother King Genocide's not doing something. If any of us is not doing a particular thing, if you see it, why aren't you doing it? You're the one who see it, but you're going to point out that the next brother or sister's not doing it, and you see it. If you see it, get the ball rolling, and we'll aid you in your efforts. But stop pointing out what other people are not doing or what other people didn't do. We need to stop that because it's not progressive. Because if I'm doing something and you're doing nothing but pointing out what I'm not doing, who is the delinquent one here? If we're going to pool our resources, if I'm the only one bringing a resource, you're not pulling a resource. You coming, you eating for free. If you're going to bring something to the, if you're not bringing something to the table and expect to get your damn belly full, who's the moocher? Bring something to the table. Bring something to the table and stop pointing out what other people are not doing and do it your damn self. And I yield the mic. Thank you for having me, brother Big Dog Philly OG. Thank you for my brother Key Norfolk for coming and helping me with this. I appreciate it. We're not done. We're not done.
Salutes, my brother. I appreciate you for having me. I appreciate OG. Appreciate everybody for listening. This was another powerful bill. And yeah, we ain't done, man. We got so many more series to go along with this.
Hey,
If we
Keith,
could just kind of, yeah.
you want to go live after this? Because I'm gonna shut this down. If I'm gonna shut it down and start over, or do you want to go live and we talk about it on your channel?
We could probably go live in like 45 minutes or so. I just got a couple things to do real quick, and then we could go live for a good hour or so, 2 hours, 3 hours.
I got you, because I want to shut this one down and get it in the books, and not let this be a long stream. But I am thinking about coming back, so we can talk about it.
Yes, sir. I'll have
Yeah,
y'all
let's
in
do
my
it and
ear.
play it by ear. Sorry about that, good brother.
I just appreciate, being able to do this on this stream, on this channel. I appreciate it. And
And you already know, bro, we'll be doing another topic next week. We're gonna do this for a minute. Shout out to the brother, the Enemies Public, for the ideal, and keep Norfolk. Because I love talking about this.
yes, sir.
I didn't do much talking, but I don't mind. Y'all talk for me. My brother, Enemies Public.
I got you covered, brother.
But go ahead and close out, and I'm gonna let the brother King Genocide close out. And I just might tap into another jam after this. I'll see.
Yes, sir. Much love to the family. Thank you for coming through. To everybody on the panel, everybody in the chat. Subscribe to the Enemies Public. We're gonna do things over there also, but I wanted to bring this subject over here to be sure that our people got the message. And do the argument of why we should divorce this system. And myself, my brother Big Dog, Philly OG, Key Norfolk, we're not gonna leave you hanging. This is for the attentive listeners. If you have an attention deficit, it's not the stream for you. We're gonna come up with solutions. We're not gonna leave you hanging.
Hey, hold on. I got you, my brother. We're gonna play that. Stay here. We're gonna play our theme song, then we're gonna close it out. You want the same thing, King Genocide?
Thanks for the sub, Nike 903.
But yeah, you finish off, my brother. I'm gonna get our theme song out of here. I'm gonna let everybody close out. We're gonna play that. I'm gonna shout the people out, and then we out.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Play our thing, play our anthem, All Rise. This is what I put my hand on my heart for, this song that's about to come on.
Give me 1 second. It should be coming up now.
Oh,
I got it
peace
on
and
my
power
watch.
to everybody.
Here we go. Shout out to everybody, man. Share screen. Shit, which one is it?
But the greater don't apologize to these black queens. Fuck idiots out your fuck rap
Hey,
magazines.
shout
Fuck white,
out
fuck money,
William
fuck Jimmy,
Lawyer,
I'm Billy.
Tino,
Niggas got diabetes, fuck cake, fuck cream, fuck the
Tony
edited version,
Furlow,
fuck keeping shit clean. Fuck Dan Wilson,
Purple
and fuck how
Stone,
that sound. That
Tanisha
fuck
Phillips,
didn't give a fuck about Mike
Monique
Brown.
Hill,
Fuck Brand
Mr.
Jones, fuck
55
Sundown Town,
Story,
fuck feeling sympathetic when
my
I got
brother
shot
King
down. Fuck
Genocide,
constipated poverty, apartheid scores,
Blind
fuck
Black
CNN,
Power
fuck
God,
corporate
Sponsor,
news,
Donald
fuck Diamond,
Cruz,
and fuck cracking ass,
Roger
French man,
Duck,
peace and white people, fuck
where
elephants in
that?
the room.
Metalface Doom, Big
Fox
Chief,
News,
Fuck YouTube,
Chris Christie,
Tony
Sarah
Burnett,
Palin,
Never
Michelle
Hungry
Obama,
Again,
Russia,
Count Two, Edgar, Juan Truth, Nicholas, Noble New, Epic Study, King Genocide, OG Dream Machine, Contact, Goddess NRG, Chocolate Earth Foundation, Dangerous Music, Sponsor, Solomon, Cut Time,
fuck trying to be the first black anything here. Fuck men, fuck you and your queer beards.
Love
Fuck a
Child,
tea party full of salty ass crackers. Fuck
Yes,
anything spoken from a dumbed down rapper. Fuck niggas who think money make a dumb nigga smart. Fuck crackers who
American
get let back
Negro,
when assholes talk. Fuck old
King
niggas scared of
Knives,
what whites might think. It's
512,
open school here to teach young black queens.
Empress
Fight
Goddess
queens and fuck
Mountain,
Drake for giving 35 million to a
Saeed,
school full of overfed rich white children.
Kato
Fuck
Moore,
integration. Fuck the leading blacks. Fuck capitulation sincerely. Fuck that. Fuck Eminem. Fuck culture appropriators.
Samantha
Fuck
White,
Macklemore. Fuck children of slave
yeah,
trippers. Fuck
Master
Democrats
Green,
and fuck
Lady
Republicans.
Speed,
Fuck
Randall,
America and the Republic for which it stands.
also,
Jefferson, Abe Lincoln,
People,
Richard Nixon, Lyndon
people
Johnson,
enlightened,
Ronald Reagan,
KJ,
Bill
enlightened,
Bush, Barack Obama.
1903, Tia Brown, sponsor executive session. Shout out to everybody. Hope I didn't miss you. Not a coincidence. Smokes, American Negro, the enemy public.
Fuck niggas who try to blame Mike Brown for his own death. Fuck cops who takes kids in the face for petty
My
theft.
brother
Fuck the
King
guy that
North,
shot Ayala
Hard.
Jones and she slept. Fuck cops who murder blacks and whites they make arrests.
Be out
Fuck
on
Reagan
one.
and the prison industrial complex. Fuck black on drugs and fuck being oppressed. Fuck the ICC and the IMF. Fuck your kleptocracy. Fuck your codified debt. Fuck every single one of you haters of black flesh. Fuck you. Fuck England. Fuck the entire West. Fuck devils on the right. Fuck devils on the left. Wait for me to give a fuck. Don't hold your fucking breath. Fuck fear in the police. Fuck changing the way I dress. If Black Lives Matter, fuck the peaceful protests. Fuck more body cam. Fuck sensitivity training. Fuck marching and complaining. The practice who ain't changing. Viacom, BET, MTV, Universal, Warner Brothers, Interscope, Sony Music.
Shout out all my Flat Power family and my indigenous family, my brother. If y'all have it, please sub up to my brother, the Enemy's Public, my brother Keith Norfolk, and the brother King Genocide. Go ahead, my brother. You can close it out.
Peace, good brother. And I'll call you later.
Got you. King Genocide, did you want to say anything before we close out, bro? Got you. If y'all, King Genocide, you there, brother? Got you. He might have fell back. If y'all haven't, please sub up to the Enemy's Public, the brother Key Norfolk, and the brother King Genocide. If anybody, haven't told y'all they love y'all today, I got much love and respect for y'all. Power to the people. Flat motherfucking power to my Flat Power family. Damn, it feel good to be Aboriginal around this motherfucker. Much love and respect to everybody. We out.